Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how much we love to dig into the nitty-gritty of really interesting dental topics, and today is no exception. We're doing a deep dive into overdentures.
A very good choice. Overdentures are something that we get a lot of questions about, and frankly, I think a lot more folks could benefit from, so I'm glad we're going to unpack all that today.
Yeah, and this document that we found called Pasted Text goes into a ton of detail on overdentures, so we're going to use that as our guide today.
Perfect.
So let's jump right in. When I hear overdentures, I think it may be a more intense denture, but our source gets into how these babies can actually be life-changing for people.
Right. It's not just about the dentures themselves. It's about what they represent, like freedom to eat what you want and to smile with confidence. No more slipping and sliding dentures. No more worrying about your teeth ending up in your soup. It's about reclaiming your quality of life.
I love that. And our source kicks off with a definition. What are overdentures exactly?
So, in the simplest terms, overdentures are like dentures but with superpowers. Instead of just resting on your gums, they're actually anchored to dental implants that are surgically embedded into your jawbone. These implants act like artificial tooth roots, giving the overdenture a rock-solid foundation.
Okay, so it's not just about keeping your teeth from falling out. It's about the bigger picture of your oral health, right?
100%. One of the things that I find most fascinating about overdentures is their ability to help preserve your jawbone. You see, when you lose teeth, your jawbone starts to shrink over time because it's not getting the stimulation it needs from chewing. It's like a muscle, use it or lose it. Overdentures, with their implant integration, actually help prevent this bone loss by mimicking the natural stimulation of teeth. Pretty cool, huh?
It's like tricking your body into thinking you still have those natural teeth. That's pretty amazing.
It really is. And bone loss is a much bigger deal than people realize. Not only can it change the shape of your face over time, making you look older, but it can also lead to more complicated and expensive dental work down the line. Overdentures can help you sidestep all of that.
That's huge. So it's really an investment in your future oral health. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. But when I first heard the term overdentures, I kind of assumed it was one size fits all. But our source mentions there are actually 5 different types. 5. That seems like a lot.
It does, doesn't it? It can feel like a bit of a denture buffet out there. But don't worry, it's not as overwhelming as it sounds. Let's break down the most common types, starting with I guess you could call them the classic overdenture. We'll call them implant-supported overdentures. These guys rely on a small number of titanium implants that are placed into the jawbone.
Like little anchors.
Exactly. They fuse with your jawbone, creating those sturdy anchors we've been talking about.
Mhm.
And then the overdenture itself, which is custom made to fit your mouth perfectly, attaches to those implants.
So you've got these implants acting like artificial tooth roots, and then the overdenture itself snacks onto them.
You got it. Now, the number of implants needed can vary from person to person. Some folks only need 2 per arch, while others might need up to 6. It all depends on the individual's needs and the amount of support required.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's really tailored to each patient.
It is.
So for those who are maybe looking for like the ultimate instability, our source mentions fixed implant-supported overdentures. What's the deal with those?
Well, as the name implies, these are like the Rolls-Royce of denture stability. They're permanently attached to the implants, usually with screws, so they're not going anywhere. No slipping, no sliding, just pure, unadulterated confidence.
That's amazing. I can see why people would be drawn to that.
Absolutely.
So it's basically like having your natural teeth back in terms of security and stability.
Exactly. But like with anything, there's a trade-off. Because they're permanently fixed, cleaning them requires a bit more finesse. You can't just pop them out and give them a scrub.
Ah, I see. So there's a bit more upkeep involved.
Right, exactly. But many people find that that's a small price to pay for the peace of mind and stability that these types of overdentures offer.
Totally. It's all about finding that balance, right?
Mm.
Like what's most important, your convenience or that rock solid stability?
Precisely. It's all about individual needs and priorities.
Makes sense. Now, our source also talks about another popular option, bar-retained implant-supported overdentures. I'm picturing a little bar, like a railing, running along the gums.
Things, not quite. Imagine a thin, discrete bar that follows the curve of your jawbone. You'd barely even notice it. This bar is attached to the implants, kind of like a bridge, and then the overdenture clips onto this bar. It's a pretty cool system.
So it's like a secure snap-on system.
Exactly. It provides a very secure fit, almost like having your natural teeth back in terms of stability, yet it's still removable for cleaning which is a big plus for hygiene. And let's be real, no one wants a denture that's difficult to clean.
That's for sure. So that sounds like a really good balance. You get that stability, but also the convenience of being able to remove it for cleaning.
Yeah.
Are there any potential downsides to this type that people should be aware of?
There are a couple things to keep in mind. Even though the bar is designed to be super subtle, it might be slightly noticeable if you have a very wide smile or thin gums.
Ah, I see.
But honestly, that's something to discuss with your dentist during a consultation. They can assess your individual anatomy and see if this type is a good fit for you. There's always a solution.
Always. It's about finding the perfect match. And that's what's so great about dentistry these days. Um, there's so many options available. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach anymore.
Absolutely. So those are some of the more popular overdenture options out there. And, I always encourage people to do their research, talk to their dentist, and figure out what's going to be the best fit for their unique needs.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that perfect match.
Hmm.
It's amazing how far dental technology has come. But let's be real, even with all these amazing options, overdentures probably come with their own set of pros and cons, right?
Of course. Every rose has its thorn, as they say. But seriously, it's super important to weigh both sides before jumping into any kind of medical procedure.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the pros. Our source really dives into some of the major advantages of overdentures. And one of the biggest ones seems to be their permanence. I mean, unlike traditional dentures that you pop in and out every day, overdentures are either fixed in place or super securely attached to those implants.
Exactly. They're not going anywhere. And that makes a world of difference. Imagine, no more denture adhesive, no more worrying about your teeth slipping out at the most inopportune times. It's like a whole new level of freedom.
That must be so liberating.
It really is.
Our source points out that one of the biggest complaints people have about traditional dentures is that they can be, well, a little bit unreliable.
Yeah. They might slip or loosen while you're eating or talking, which can be embarrassing, to say the least.
I can only imagine. So with overdentures, you can say goodbye to all of that.
You got it. No more whispering in the corner at parties. You can eat, speak, and laugh with confidence, knowing that your teeth are right where they should be.
That must be a game changer for people who've lived with the insecurity of loose dentures.
Absolutely. It's about more than just functionality. It's about dignity and confidence.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about the amazing stability and the confidence boost that overdentures can give you. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Cost. I'm guessing something this life-changing doesn't come cheap.
You're right. Overdentures can be a significant financial investment, often more so than traditional dentures. And you know me, I'm all about being upfront and honest.
Yeah.
It's important to go into this with your eyes wide open and have those open and honest conversations with your dentist about the costs involved.
So transparency is key here.
100%. And the good news is that there are often options available to help make it more affordable. Some dentists offer financing plans, and it's always worth checking with your insurance provider to see what kind of coverage they offer. Don't be afraid to ask.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially when making big decisions about your health.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so we've talked about cost. But beyond the financial aspect, are there any other potential downsides to overdentures that people should be aware of?
That's a great question. And, with any surgical procedure, there are always going to be some inherent risks.
Of course, there's always a chance of complications, right?
Right, but I want to emphasize that advancements in dental implant technology have made the procedure very routine, and the risks are generally quite low,
That's good to hear.
but it's still surgery. And there's always a slight chance of infection, or in very rare cases, implant failure. That's why it's so important to choose an experienced and qualified dentist who has a proven track record of success with implant procedures.
It's like anything else in life. You want to go with the best, right? Especially when it comes to your health. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the pros, the cons, the cost. But I'm curious, how do overdentures actually stack up against traditional dentures? Like, what are the key differences that people should know about?
Well, at the end of the day, the most fundamental difference boils down to the method of attachment. Traditional dentures, the kind that your grandma might have worn, simply rest on your gums and rely on suction or adhesives to stay in place.
Right. They're kind of just sitting there.
Exactly. Whereas overdentures, on the other hand, are anchored directly to your jawbone via those implants we were talking about earlier. So it's a much more secure and stable fit.
So it's almost like the difference between building a house on sand versus building it on a solid foundation.
That's a great analogy. And that difference in attachment translates to a whole host of advantages for overdentures, particularly when it comes to stability and chewing ability. With traditional dentures, biting into an apple can be a risky proposition.
I can imagine.
But with overdentures, you can bite, chew, and eat whatever you want without a second thought. It's like having your natural teeth back.
That's incredible.
It really is life-changing for a lot of people.
Now, you mentioned chewing ability. I would imagine that the way overdentures are anchored also makes a big difference in how well you can chew your food.
You are so right. Because overdentures are so stable, they provide the kind of biting force that you just can't get with traditional dentures. You know how people with traditional dentures sometimes avoid certain foods because they're too difficult to chew?
Oh, absolutely. I've heard stories.
Well, with overdentures, you can kiss those dietary restrictions goodbye. Steak, nuts, bring it on.
Now, that's what I'm talking about. It's all about enjoying life to the fullest. And speaking of enjoying life, we talked earlier about how overdentures can help preserve your jawbone. Can you remind us again how that works? I find that absolutely fascinating.
Absolutely. It all comes down to the implants. Remember how we talked about how they act like artificial tooth roots? Well, when those implants are embedded in your jawbone, they actually stimulate the bone in the same way that natural tooth roots do. And that stimulation is what tells your body to keep that bone healthy and strong. So it's like tricking your body into thinking those natural teeth are still there.
You got it. It's all about biomimicry.
That's brilliant. And that's something that traditional dentures just can't offer, right? Exactly. In fact, traditional dentures can actually accelerate bone loss because they don't provide that all-important stimulation.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So overdentures really are a more holistic approach to oral health.
100%.
Okay, so we've heard all about the amazing benefits of overdentures. Are we saying that overdentures are the clear winner and the battle of the dentures?
You know, as much as I love overdentures, I would never say that there's a one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to dentistry. What might be a great option for one person might not be the best fit for another.
That makes sense. It's all about finding what's right for your unique circumstances.
Exactly. It's about weighing the pros and cons, considering your individual needs, your health status, your lifestyle, and of course, your budget. And that's where that open and honest conversation with your dentist comes in.
Communication is key.
Always.
Okay, so let's say someone listening is intrigued by the idea of overdentures and wants to know more. What can they expect if they decide to take the plunge? What does the actual procedure involve?
Okay, so like most medical journeys, it all starts with a consultation.
The meet and greet.
Exactly. This is where you and your dentist really get to know each other, talk about your concerns, your goals, and what you're hoping to achieve with overdentures.
So it's like laying the foundation for a good partnership.
That's a great way to put it. Your dentist will examine your mouth. They'll probably take some x-rays or even a 3D scan to get a good look at your bone structure. And then they'll talk to you about the different overdenture options that we've been discussing today to see what might be the best fit for you.
It sounds very personalized.
It is. Dentistry has come a long way from the days of one size fits all.
I love that. So you have your consultation, you get all the information. What comes next?
Well, once you and your dentist have decided to move forward with overdentures, the next step is typically the placement of the dental implants.
Okay, this is where things get real. I imagine some people might be a little nervous about this part.
Of course. It's only natural to feel a bit apprehensive about surgery. But I want to reassure our listeners that dental implant placement is a very common procedure these days. And with local anesthesia, it's typically very well tolerated.
Okay, that's good to know.
So during the procedure, your dentist will surgically place those titanium implants that we talked about earlier, those little anchors, into your jawbone.
Titanium. That sounds intense.
It does, doesn't it? But titanium is amazing stuff. It's biocompatible, which means that it's not seen as a foreign object by your body. And over time, it actually fuses with your bone, creating that incredibly strong and stable foundation for your overdenture.
So it's almost like your jawbone adopts those implants as its own.
You got it. Pretty cool, huh?
It's amazing. It's like science fiction, but it's real life.
It really is.
So once the implants are in place, what happens next?
Well, then comes the healing phase, which is a really important part of the process. Our source indicates it can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months for those implants to fully integrate with your jawbone.
Wow, that's quite a waiting game.
It is, but trust me, it's worth the wait. Remember that house analogy we talked about earlier? You've got to let the foundation cure properly before you start building on top of it.
That's a great way to put it. So during those few months, you just kind of hang out and let your body do its thing.
Exactly. Well, you'll have regular checkups with your dentist to make sure everything is healing properly. And they might recommend some dietary restrictions during this time to avoid putting too much stress on those newly placed implants.
That makes sense. Patience is a virtue. So once the implants have settled in and are all happy in their new home, what's the next step?
Then comes the really exciting part. It's time to create your custom overdenture.
The grand unveiling.
Yeah, chuckles. Kind of. First, your dentist will take impressions of your mouth. These are basically molds that capture the exact shape of your gums and any remaining teeth.
Like a dental sculptor capturing every detail.
I love that description. You're hired. So once those impressions are made, they'll be sent off to a dental lab where skilled technicians will use them to craft your personalized overdenture.
So it's a real team effort.
It is. And those technicians work closely with your dentist to make sure that your new overdenture fits perfectly, matches the color and shape of your natural teeth, and meets all your functional needs.
It's like getting a custom-made suit tailored for your smile.
That's a great way to put it. And then finally, the big reveal. You'll have an appointment with your dentist where they'll place your brand new overdenture, make any final adjustments to ensure a comfortable and secure fit, and voila.
A brand new smile is born.
Exactly. You're ready to take on the world.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk turkey about the cost one more time. Our source mentions that overdentures can cost up to $25,000 per arch.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
that's a significant chunk of change.
It is. There's no denying that. But you know what? It's important to remember that you're not just paying for a set of teeth. You're paying for a transformation. You're paying for the ability to eat what you want, to smile with confidence, to reclaim your quality of life.
That's a really powerful way to look at it.
And, when you compare it to the potential cost of ongoing dental work, adjustments and complications that can arise from poorly fitted or poorly maintained traditional dentures, overdentures might actually save you money in the long run.
So it's an investment in your long-term health and well-being.
Exactly. It's about playing the long game.
Makes sense.
And, as we mentioned earlier, don't be afraid to explore your financing options. Many dental offices offer payment plans to help make it more manageable. And always check with your insurance provider to see if they cover any part of the procedure. You never know.
Absolutely. It's always worth asking. Now, I know we've been laser-focused on overdentures, which is amazing, but our source also mentions a few alternative treatment options for missing teeth. What are those all about?
Right, because overdentures aren't the only game in town. We've got our good old-fashioned removable dentures, which are still a great option for a lot of people.
The OG of dentures.
Exactly. And you know what? They've stood the test of time for a reason. They're often a more budget-friendly option than overdentures. And for individuals who might not be good candidates for surgery due to health reasons or other factors, removable dentures can be a really great way to restore their smile and their ability to chew properly.
So it's about choosing what aligns with your health, your lifestyle, and your budget.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you.
Now, besides removable dentures, what other alternatives are out there?
Well, there are partial dentures, which are a good option for people who are only missing a few teeth. As the name suggests, they only replace a portion of your teeth, kind of like puzzle pieces for your smile, and they fit snugly around your existing natural teeth.
I love that. Puzzle pieces for your smile. That's a great way to explain it. So they're a less invasive option than getting a full denture or implant.
Exactly, and because they're less complex to make, they're often a more affordable option, too.
Got it. And finally, our source mentions dental bridges. I feel like I've heard of those.
Oh, yeah. Dental bridges have been a staple in dentistry for ages.
They have a good PR team.
They do, but seriously, they're a great option for a lot of people. Essentially, a dental bridge is a fixed appliance, meaning that it's not meant to be removed, and it literally bridges the gap created by one or more missing teeth.
Okay, so you're not just replacing the missing tooth, you're creating a whole support system around it.
Exactly. And they're super durable, they look incredibly natural, and they're often more affordable than implants.
So they're like the trifecta of dental wins.
Yeah,
But I'm guessing there are some downsides too, right? Like with anything else in life.
of course. One thing to keep in mind is that dental bridges require a bit of preparation on the adjacent teeth.
What do you mean by preparation?
Well, to make room for the bridge, your dentist will need to reshape the teeth on either side of the gap. It's kind of like they're creating bookends to support the bridge.
Ah, I see. So there's a bit of a trade-off there.
There is. But it's usually a very worthwhile trade-off considering the benefits that bridges offer.
That makes sense. So once again, it seems like the key message here is to talk to your dentist, explore your options, and figure out what's going to be the best fit for your individual needs.
100%. Your dentist is your partner in this journey. Don't be afraid to ask questions, share your concerns, and work together to come up with a treatment plan that you feel good about.
When we talk about dentures, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking it's an age thing. But the reality is, tooth loss can happen to anyone at any age, right?
Absolutely. Tooth loss doesn't discriminate. And this deep dive has got me thinking a lot about just how important preventative care is throughout our lives.
So true.
I mean, our source really zeroes in on solutions for significant tooth loss, but that whole journey often starts way earlier, you know?
It's like that old adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
100%. Brushing, flossing, those regular dental checkups, those are the real MVPs when it comes to maintaining a healthy smile. And it's never too early or too late to start prioritizing those habits.
Absolutely. Speaking of prioritizing habits, our source touches on one aspect of overdenture aftercare that I think we should unpack a bit: cleaning. I mean, it might seem obvious, but just because you have artificial teeth doesn't mean they're magically self-cleaning, right?
Oh, I wish. Unfortunately, those pearly whites don't clean themselves. But you're absolutely right. Keeping your overdentures clean is super important. We've talked a lot about how those implants actually fuse with your jawbone, which is amazing. But those implants are still susceptible to infection, just like natural teeth.
Oh no, what
Yeah.
kind of infection we're talking about here?
Well, one thing to be mindful of is something called peri-implantitis. It's essentially an infection that develops around the implant itself.
Peri-implantitis, that sounds serious.
It can be. It's kind of like gum disease, but instead of affecting your natural teeth, it affects the gums and bones surrounding the implant.
So basically, infection around the implant, not good.
Not good at all. But the good news is that preventing peri-implantitis really comes down to one thing: meticulous cleaning. Your dentist will be your new best friend when it comes to learning how to care for your overdentures.
Okay, so what does that actually look like?
Well, it might involve using special brushes that are designed to clean around those implants, specific types of floss, maybe an antimicrobial mouthwash, you know, the works.
So it's like a whole new world of dental hygiene.
You could say that, but hey, you've gone through this whole process, you've made this investment in your smile, your health. It's worth it to keep those pearly whites sparkling clean, right?
Absolutely. I'm hearing you, those implants are worth protecting.
100%. They are.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the world of overdentures from every angle: the different types, the pros and cons, the procedure itself, the cost. We even touched on alternative treatment options, which is great.
It's been a very thorough deep dive.
It has. So as we wrap things up, what would you say are the key takeaways that our listeners should keep in mind?
You know, if there's one thing I want our listeners to remember, it's that overdentures can truly be a life-changing solution for people who are struggling with traditional dentures. They offer incredible stability, improved chewing ability, and those long-term benefits for your jawbone health that we talked about. It's really amazing.
It is.
But like with any medical procedure, it's so important to weigh those pros and cons. Consider your individual needs, your health, your lifestyle, your budget, and have those open and honest conversations with your dentist.
Communication is key.
Always.
I love it. Well said. Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to sign off. Thank you all so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of overdentures. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive adventure. Until then, keep those pearly whites sparkling.